Hi there, I'm Marcel, and I've had quite a few men reach out to me with questions regarding their sexuality. A lot of these men have had some kind of issue with their prostate or erectile dysfunction, and so I've decided to create this video to explore the journey of the male sexual evolution. If they have to follow the progression of the conventional way of moving through the world as a man with regards to sexuality. So it starts off with potential brainwashing that may happen as a child around your sexuality. Most of the time it's to the mother or the father. There's shame that is developed within the child's awareness and understanding of sexuality simply because the parents are not comfortable with their own sexuality. And so obviously this is complex. There's all kinds of things that can happen to a young boy with regards to sexuality, from abuse to just, mummy catching him masturbating as a child and shaming him around this. This all impacts the body. These situations create blockages within the body around the base, the root chakra. This is where the penis or the lingam is. And so what happens is it doesn't allow the sexual energy to function at its optimum, meaning that it doesn't allow the sexual energy to move up. So there's a channel that exists within the center of the body, and it's through this channel that the sexual energy wants to flow all the way up through to the heart and then all the way out the crown. But if there is blockage from a young age around the messages that you're taught around your sexuality, this hinders that flow. So this is the first implication that happens for adults, and a lot of the men that I work with, we go back to those childhood wounds, often which are unconscious but play out in ways that you're not even aware of, where, for instance, some men will try and get the sex done over with as quickly as possible because there's shame around it, or for other men, they disconnected from their sexualities because they feel that sex is bad, so they try and rush the process and not enjoy it, not connect with a woman, because there's an element of badness around it. So whatever the story is for you, of which there are many, the work is about, first of all, starting to identify what those wounds are and healing them. The next step is starting to realize that in this day and age, men have been conditioned in quite an unhealthy way around what sexuality as well as a woman's sexuality is all about. And this is because of pornography. So I'm not saying that pornography is bad. If it's worked with consciously, it can be very powerful. But the problem with sexuality is that you are accessing your desire through a screen where you are watching something out there, and that something out there is stimulating your imagination, which is connected to your arousal. And so you cannot experience arousal unless you are being stimulated by something in the external there. So it doesn't just have to be through pornography, but it can be through your partner. But after a period of time, because the mind is dependent on this stimulation, eventually that starts working as well. That's why a lot of men, as they get older, they realize that they're no longer stimulated by their partners, and they're needing more experiences. And so they think that bringing a third person into the equation, or doing this or trying that, might help. But it doesn't help, and it doesn't help because you have lost touch with the sexual connection to your body, as opposed to having operated all your life through your mind as a means of being stimulated and aroused. So there's two levels to this. The first level is the disconnection from the body as a result of needing stimulation in the external through the mind to stimulate the imagination in order to get the arousal going. That's the one level. The other level is if there are energetic blockages from childhood still stuck in the body, around the sexuality, around, carrying shame or fear or disgust around how it is that you feel about yourself as a man, what happens is this sexual energy cannot flow upwards, and so it stays stuck down in the base, going round and round and round fast in a circle. And it's like this intense energy that needs to fulfill itself. It needs to express itself. It needs to ejaculate. And that's why men, especially in the younger years, have to masturbate and ejaculate a lot. And it's just because that energy gets strong and there's this urgency to release. And so there's a certain predatory quality to this because it's all about fulfilling itself. And so men will go out and search for women or experiences in order to fulfill this need to release. So these are the two levels to it. So both can exist at the same time. There's an urgency to have to release, and then there's the need for the stimulation in the external to help create that release. So what's happening here is there's not a connection to the body, and there's not a real connection to the woman. There's not a real understanding of what the feminine is about, how a woman's orgasm looks, or what her needs are. There's not a slowing down in order for this process of lovemaking to happen, where the orgasm or the creative expression and intimacy between the two of you is a very deep and powerful and healing process, as opposed to it being about your carnivorous release. So basically, another distortion that happens for men is as a result of having grown up with too much pornography. Men have a distorted understanding of what a woman's orgasm is actually about. So generally, if you watch a porno, you see a woman in under 2 minutes having an orgasm, and it's very loud and very dramatic and lots of screaming and noises, and that's not how it is at all. So there's two things that you need to know. First of all, on a very deep unconscious level, a woman can feel your sexual predatory energy, which means that she will not feel safe and she will not fully let go, which means that the whole sexual experience, the intimacy between the two of you, will probably be forced, firstly. Secondly, if a woman encounters you this way and she's not in her power, it means that she will compromise her own sexuality and as a means of pleasing you, and again will give you some distorted expression of what pleasure or intimacy or sexuality look like. So what happens with a lot of women is that they think they need to be the porn star. They think they need to come quickly and put on a good show in order for you to have that orgasm. So it's all warped and it's backwards, and sadly women are not connected to their sexuality or their orgasm either. So there's a whole slowing down that needs to happen. And basically, eventually what happens for men as a result of accessing their desire and their sexuality through their minds, through being stimulated by something in the external, is that eventually things start shutting down. Think about it like this. If you get sick and you are bedridden and you cannot get out of bed for a year, eventually what's going to happen is all the muscles in your body will start working, they'll atrophy. And if you try and stand up and walk, you won't be able to. Well, it's the same with your sexuality. There are so many muscles just in your pelvis alone, not just muscles within your pelvis, but within your entire body. All the nerves are connected to your senses. And it's the difference between being deeply sensitized to touch versus being numb and shut down to touch. And so all of that needs to be switched on in order to connect to the body again, in order to relax the body, in order to allow things to start flowing again, so that whatever blockages lie in the base can start healing and releasing and moving up, so that the expression of your desire can start transforming, where it's not carnivorous or predatory, but becomes one of love and a desire for intimacy and connection with your partner. And so again, it's not about bringing a third person into the equation in your relationship with your partner, or trying all kinds of tricks, or watching new pornography. It's really about starting to connect to yourself. It's about starting to connect to your body. It's starting to connect to intimacy with yourself. It's starting to sensitize yourself, switch things on within you so that things can start flowing again. And once this can happen, and once this healing takes place on a deeper level, everything that has become stagnant can start moving and flowing again. And you no longer need to watch porn to get aroused, but you become aroused because of the deep connection of intimacy that you have with your partner, where touch is what creates desire and arousal within you, and the connection, the intimate connection that you have with your partner is what creates arousal and connection within you. So if you are experiencing challenges with your partner where you no longer getting aroused by her, this is probably because you've lost connection with yourself and your body is shut down. So it's about activating that. The other possibility that a lot of men are experiencing are the fact that their partners are shut down and are not able to experience arousal or feel safe. Well, we don't want to jump to conclusions that they don't feel safe, but I'd say on a very deep level they don't realize it, but they're not feeling safe because you're coming at them with your predatory energy. So there's a whole lot of education that needs to happen on both sides. For men, it's about starting to connect to the body again, and healing old blockages and wounds around the sexuality, and start moving the sexual energy up so that the nature of your desire changes. And then for women, it's starting to understand that if you come at them the way you've been coming at them, fast and with strong fervent desire to have your needs met, it doesn't allow them to relax. It places pressure on them on a deep level. It doesn't build trust, and so they never get to experience their full expression as well. So I hope that answers some questions. Obviously it goes so much deeper. There's so many more layers to it, and it depends from person to person what the situation is. But I just wanted to create this video because there were a lot of people coming my way asking questions, and this is kind of the foundation of what we're working with regards to Tantra. And you know, if there are things within the unconscious that need to be worked with, this takes some digging, especially because it relates to your masculinity as a man, and how it is that you feel about yourself, how it is that you feel about your sexuality, what are the messages that you were taught, what wounding is there that happened, and so how can we transform this and shift it and get things flowing again. So if this resonated, please feel free to reach out and ask questions, and let's go deeper. It's very beautiful and powerful work that can really unleash so much within you and get things flowing again, as well as deepen your connection with your partner and with what intimacy and orgasm, body orgasms really mean. Thanks for watching.